بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم أما بعد. So previously yesterday we spoke of just the beginnings of the book itself. We're talking about different things that Imam Hujjatul Islam, Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah spoke of. And he said that he is going to share with us things that will help us establish our foundation for Hidayah. So he says that Hidayah is a very long road. When we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Hidayah and we say, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, that is meant for the person that has just entered Islam. He says, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. And someone who is a very pious person who has been in the obedience and the ta'ah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his entire life, he also says Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. That tells us that Hidayah itself is a very long path and there is no real end to it. But Imam al-Ghazali is saying that there is a beginning and there is the heights of that Hidayah. And in order for us to get to that very high level, we need to have a strong foundation. So then he continues from where we left off. The last line we read was وَهَا أَنَا مُشِيرٌ عَلَيْكَ بِبِدَايَةِ الْهِدَايَةِ لِتُجَرِّبَ فِيهَا نَفْسَكَ وَتَمْتَحِنَ بِهَا قَلْبَكَ. I'm going to point towards you. I'm going to point you towards the beginnings of guidance, so that you can practice on it, and you can test it out and see how it affects your life. فإن صادفت قلبك إليها مائلا ونفسك بها مطاوعة ولها قابلة فدونك والتطلع إلى النهايات والتغلغل إلى بحار العلوم والمكاشفات. So he says that if you take what I'm going to tell you and you practice on this and you quickly accept it very quickly, then right in front of you, فدونك والتطلع إلى النهايات, you will find the that you will reach the heights very soon. If you accept this right now, quickly you'll get it. And you will go into you'll get the oceans of knowledge, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up the understanding of deen for you if you take what I say to you. So this chapter he's going to talk about very briefly about the importance of knowledge. He's going to talk about, different categories of scholars, and he's going to talk about the fact that every one of us as Muslims have a certain amount of knowledge that we currently have and that we should attempt to have. But in relation to our knowledge, we all have, like, meaning our practice in comparison to that knowledge, we're all in different levels. So he's going to talk about all of those things. So he says that if you accept what I'm going to say, inshallah, you will be on the path. And then he says, وَإِن صَادَفْتَ قَلْبَكَ عِنْدَ مُؤَاخَذَتِكَ إِيَّاهُ بِهَا مُسَوِّفًا وَبِالْعَمَلِ بِمُقْتَضَاهُ مُمَاطِلًا. If you take what I'm going to say, but you said that, okay, I'm learning now, inshallah later I'll make amal on it. Let me learn what he has to say, but I'm not going to practice on it now. A few years from now, inshallah. And the intention is not really to practice on it, rather the intention is just to know. فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ نَفْسَكَ الْمَائِلَةَ إِلَى طَلَبِ الْعِلْمِ هِيَ النَّفْسُ الْأَمَّارَةُ بِالسُّوءِ. So he's saying that if you find yourself like this, you are searching for knowledge, but you're not searching for practice. That means that our knowledge, the attainment of that knowledge, with talabul ilm, the seeking of divine knowledge, the knowledge of Islam, is not for practice. He's saying that this is a sign that you have a nafsul ammaratu bisu. And this is a reference to in Surah to Yusuf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the words of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, that the nafs ammara bisu. There's different types of, the soul of a person. When a person's nafs has complete control over them and they follow their desires, then this is what we call a nafsul ammara to bisu, the nafs, or the self that commands an individual to do evil. So he's saying that if you are trying to seek knowledge, but you're not really trying to seek amal, then that's where you are, or that's where we are. We have a nafs ammara bisu, a nafs or a self that is continuously calling us to do evil. وقد انتهضت مطيعة للشيطان اللعين. And that nafs is following shaitan. So in reality, if by seeking knowledge, and it's not the knowledge like we spoke of yesterday, it's not the knowledge of something else. This is knowledge of Quran, knowledge of Hadith. But if the purpose is not practice, the purpose is to debate, the purpose is to tell people, look what I have, then actually he's obeying that nafs of mine is going to be obeying shaitan. يُدَلِّيَكَ بِحَبْلِ غُرُورِ. He's going to tie us into his rope of deception. So this is a figurative language. Shaitan has a noose around us, a rope, and he's pulling us, and wherever he wants us to go, then we're going there. Now Shaitan is very intelligent. He knows that if you tell a person that, hey, jump into Jahannam, he's not going to do that because it's not going to benefit him. But he's going to show you, look, the beauty of ilm, the beauty of ulama. You can be amongst a scholar, you can have the knowledge of deen, people will respect you. But deep down, what shaitan wants you to do is get that knowledge and not practice on it, because he knows this is another way to get you to jump into the fire of Jahannam. So this is his trick. He doesn't go take you directly there. He tells you through his methodology, which he's perfected over thousands and thousands of years. فَيَسْتَدْرِجَكَ بِمَكِيدَتِهِ إِلَى غَمْرَةِ الْهَلَاكِ. So he will, through his deception, take you towards destruction. وَقَصْدُهُ أَنْ يُرَوِّجَ عَلَيْكَ الشَّرَّ فِي مَعْرِضِ الْخَيْرِ حَتَّى يُلْحِقَكَ بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا. So what is shaitan's methodology? This is what he's saying. The methodology of shaitan is to present evil to you in the light and in the clothing of good and khair. And that is shaitan's expertise. That's what he's always doing. And that is what is the definition of deception, that you present something that is actually bad, but in such a positive light that the person that you want to get entrapped in it accepts it. This is what shaitan does with us when he is presenting knowledge to us and he knows we won't practice on it. And he is going to take us to al-akhsarina a'mala, those people who do good, but they get no reward from it. الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا. Those who have lost their way in this life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us one life in this dunya. You have to either make it or break it. And these people who actually have gotten the knowledge of deen, the knowledge of Islam, Quran and Hadith, but they have missed the fruit of that, which is practice. They are not counted amongst those who are successful. They are actually counted amongst those who have misused their life whilst, and this is the worst part, وَهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. They believe they've done good. That is the worst part. One person, he may have done something, he led a life filled with his own desires and obeyed his own nafs, but they know that they've done wrong. That person may have the tawfiq to do tawbah because they know that I've done wrong. At the end of their life, they'll look back and they'll say that I've done nothing wrong. I mean, I've done everything wrong. I've done nothing good. Let me turn towards Allah. But what can we say about a person who believes they're doing right? They're doing wrong by having all this knowledge and not practicing, but they believe that they're doing right. Will they be given that tawfiq for tawbah or not? That's a very scary thing to think about. And so then he continues, وَعِنْدَ ذَلِكَ. If this happens to you, where you have gained the knowledge of deen, but you're not practicing on it, neither do you have the intention to practice on it, then, like he said before, shaitan has a complete hold upon such a person. When this happens, يَتْلُو عَلَيْكَ الشَّيْطَانُ فَضْلَ الْعِلْمِ وَدَرَجَةَ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Shaitan will continuously tell you of the greatness and the virtues of knowledge and how great it is to be an alim. He'll tell you, if you seek knowledge, the angels will make dua for you, the fish will make dua for you. In alim's sleep is better than the sleep of a normal person. The ibadah of a normal person cannot equate the sleep of an alim. He'll tell you all of these things which are in the hadith. وَمَا وَرَدَ فِيهِ مِنَ الْأَخْبَارِ وَالْآثَارِ. So he'll tell you all these hadith. They will come into your mind. What this is a person studies these hadith. You study the books of hadith, you gain this knowledge. And so that is the only thing that we find in our minds. Okay, wow, it's great to be an alim. There's so much reward for it. But we're not thinking about the other side. There's also other ahadith. And then Imam al-Ghazali says, وَيُلْهِيكَ عَنْ قَوْلِهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم مَنْ ازْدَادَ عِلْمًا وَلَمْ يَزْدَدْ هُدًى لَمْ يَزْدَدْ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا بُعْدًا. So shaitan, he will make you remember some of your ilm and make you forget the other part. And what that is that when it comes to the fada'il, he makes you remember the positive aspects. He says that you're doing good. You've got the knowledge of deen. That's so amazing. You're an alim. You have it made. You're much better than anyone else. But he makes you forget the other hadith where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says that person who has increased their knowledge and has not increased guidance and practice, then they have not increased in their connection with Allah. Rather, they have become farther from Allah. So this is what shaitan does. Makes you remember the things that which he wants you to remember so that you can be misguided. But he's not going to tell you the things that, remind you of the things that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, which really puts us onto the right track. So we have to look at all of the hadith together. We can't just focus on the virtues. That if I study this much masail or if I learn fiqh, then I'm going to have this virtue. If I'm a student of knowledge, then the angel's wings is going to be put on the ground for me. That's not the only type of hadith there are. There's also other hadith that if a person gains knowledge and he does not practice on it, then instead of getting closer to Allah, he's actually gone farther away. And there's another hadith one قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن أشد الناس عذابا يوم القيامة عالم لم ينفعه الله بعلمه. Another hadith, the worst person in terms of the punishment that they will receive on the day of judgment, and they will have the most severe punishment on the day of judgment, is an alim, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not cause people to take benefit from that person's ilm. The alim himself gained a lot of knowledge. They may have written books, they may have studied everything. If you ask them a question, they can answer, but they themselves are not practicing, nor did anyone benefit from their lives. So this is a person who's going to be extremely punished. So we have to look at these ahadith as well. Knowledge is gaining knowledge is a precarious situation. You have to practice on it. It's not just the knowledge that we seek. In Islam, Islam is about practice. But in order to practice, we require the knowledge. So knowledge without practice, like we said yesterday, is a tree without fruit. Doesn't really give that much benefit. And there's another hadith, وعن قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم مررت ليلة أسري بي بأقوام تقرض شفاههم بمقاريض من نار فقلت من أنتم؟ فقالوا كنا نأمر بالخير ولا نأتيه وننهى عن الشر ونأتي. Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم is reported to have said that on the night of Mi'raj, when I went to the heavens and I saw so many different things, I passed by a group of people. Their lips were being cut with scissors of fire. So their lips were being cut. These people, a bunch of people, their lips being cut with scissors of fire. I said, who are these people? Who are you? So they said, we are those people who used to call people towards good. We said, please do this good action, do that good action. It's a Ramadan fast, perform your tahajjud, give in sadaqah. However, we would not do it. And we would tell them, don't do anything bad. Do not do zina, do not drink, do not eat haram. However, we used to do that. So these people, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says that I passed by them, their lips were being cut by fire. And what is the significance of that? Because these people had the knowledge and they used to tell people. They used to speak with these lips and tell them, do good and stay away from evil, but their entire bodies were doing the opposite. And so now their punishment is that fire will cut those same lips that have told people that you should do good, but they themselves wouldn't do it. So then Imam al-Ghazali, after mentioning these three hadith, warning us about utilizing our knowledge in the incorrect way or the lack of utilization. He says, فَإِيَّاكَ يَا مِسْكِينَ, be careful, O poor person, أَن تُذْعِنَ لِتَزْوِيرِهِ وَتَدَلَّى بِحَبْلِ غُرُورِهِ, that you fall into the traps of shaitan. Be very careful. Don't fall into the traps of shaitan. He's going to trick you. He's going to make it seem really nice. Like, I love gaining the knowledge of Islam. But when it comes to practicing, I can't even wake up for Fajr Salah. So he's saying, be very careful. فويل للجاهل حيث لم يتعلم مرة واحدة وويل للعالم حيث لم يعمل بعلمه ألف مرة. It's a very wise statement Imam al-Ghazali says. He says, the jahil is to be blamed, the ignorant person, he is to be blamed because he did not practice one time. He didn't have the knowledge, he couldn't practice. When he gets the knowledge, he practices. So for that aspect, he is to be blamed. He doesn't have the knowledge. However, the blame on the alim is so much greater because he didn't practice on his ilm 1,000 times. فَوَيْلٌ لِلْجَاهِلِ حَيْثُ لَمْ يَتَعَلَّمْ مَرَّةً وَاحِدَةً. The blame on the ignorant person because he didn't learn. But there's the blame on the alim because he didn't practice 1,000 times in his life. He had the chance. He knew what he has to do, but he still didn't do it. So this is a lesson for us that we are receiving the knowledge. Every one of us has a small amount of knowledge. We have to ask ourselves, am I practicing according to that knowledge that I have? I know tahajjud is a good thing. I know that treating others is a very good thing. I know in Ramadan I'm not supposed to be upset at people. Am I practicing on that? Am I getting upset at everyone around me? Am I bossing people around? Am I being, very, with the bad akhlaq, I guess, am I having bad akhlaq and showing that in front of people or not? So that is me not practicing on my knowledge. I know that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not do this. Then he continues, وَعْلَمْ رَحِمَكَ اللَّهِ أَنَّ النَّاسَ فِي طَلَبِ الْعِلْمِ عَلَى ثَلَاثَةِ أَحْوَالٍ. He says, may Allah have mercy on you. You should know this thing, that people, in regards to their relation in gaining knowledge, there are three types. There's three types of people when it comes to gaining the knowledge of Islam. Number one, رجل طلب العلم ليدخره زادا إلى المعاد ولم يقصد به إلا وجه الله تعالى والدار الآخرة فهذا من الفائزين. So the best of the three is a person who has sought the knowledge of Islam, the knowledge of Deen, so that it may be a means for him to go to the Akhirah. So his purpose in gaining knowledge is so that I can cross this journey of this dunya and get into the Akhirah and I can please Allah. And he does not intend it except for the sake of Allah. His gaining knowledge, every time this person gets knowledge, it's so that Allah can be happy with me and so that I can reach the Akhirah. فَهَذَا مِنَ الْفَائِزِينَ. This is a person who is successful. So this is what we want. This is when we attain knowledge, our intention should be to please Allah and so that I can learn how to live my life. That is the main aspect. ورجل, number two, ورجل طلبه ليستعين به على حياته العاجلة وينال به العز والجاه والمال وهو عالم بذلك مستشعر في قلبه ركاكة حاله وخسة مقصده فهذا من المخاطرين. So number two, and this is in the middle. This is a person who seeks knowledge so that they may attain the benefits of this dunya. So their intention is not for the hereafter. They're gaining knowledge. Why? So I can benefit myself in dunya. In the past, there were, positions such as the judge. If you learn this many books of fiqh or memorize certain books in fiqh, then you will get this position. So there was a lot of competition in those times. They were government paid scholars, so they would try to, some of them, perhaps their niyyah was to get this position so that they can get that, amount of wealth. Or a person who gains knowledge because they have seen that scholars are greatly praised. People love scholars. People, point at them and have a lot of respect towards them, and people look up to them, and there's a lot of fame to be had sometimes by being a scholar. So this person, their intention is that, or their intention is to gain wealth. However, this person knows, they know that what they're doing is wrong. So this is why this is in the middle. This person is not intending Allah's pleasure nor the akhirah. They're intending dunya, but they know what they're doing is wrong. They feel that inside. They feel guilty that, why can't I have a good intention? How come I can't fix myself? Why do I have this evil side of me? They know they're doing wrong. فهذا من المخاطرين. Imam al-Ghazali says that these people are in extreme danger. They're not successful. They're in extreme danger. And then he explains why they're in danger. فإن عاجله أجله قبل التوبة خيف عليه سوء الخاتمة وبقي أمره في خطر المشيئة. If his life ends, if he dies, this person, he or she, they die before they can do tawbah, then they will have a very bad ending. Because just like we spoke about before, these are ulama who don't practice. This is a very dangerous position to be in. If you die in that state, is absolutely dangerous. And when we say ulama, we're not talking about a person that went through a course. We're talking about each one of us who have some level of knowledge. It doesn't mean that, I have to have a certificate from a specific jamia, a university, Islamic university or something. Each one of us has a specific amount of ilm. And according to that amount of knowledge we have, there's an amount of responsibility. So if we die before we practice on that knowledge, then that is a responsibility on our shoulders. وَبَقِيَ أَمْرُهُ فِي خَطَرِ الْمَشِيئَةِ. If a person dies like this, they can only hope for the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in terms of deserving that forgiveness, obviously saying deserving is a big thing to deserve Allah's forgiveness, but to be in a good position in which we have pleased Allah, that won't be had if a person dies in a position where they did not practice on their knowledge. So he's saying that's why these people are in danger. They have this knowledge, but they know that they're not practicing. وإن وفق للتوبة قبل حلول الأجل وأضاف إلى العلم العمل وتدارك ما فرط منه من الخلل التحق بالفائزين. However, these same people, they know they're doing wrong, and they're seeking dunya for with their knowledge. If they before they die, Allah gives them that tawfiq to do tawbah. They turn back to Allah. And then they start practicing on that knowledge. They have so much knowledge because they're an alim, but they've never practiced on it before. But something happens in their life and they say that, no, I have to change. I have to practice on this. I'm going to die one day. And they start practicing on that amal, on all of that ilm that they have. And then they fix up all the mistakes that they had before. Then they become part of the first group. التحق بالفائزين. They become amongst the successful ones. فإن التائب من الذنب كمن لا ذنب له. The person that makes tawbah from their sins is like a person who's never done any sin at all. So this is very beautiful, that we shouldn't lose hope. If we find ourselves that I'm not practicing, so I'm not going to seek knowledge. If we say that I don't want to seek knowledge because I know I'm not going to practice, that's not correct. Because one day Allah may give us tawfiq to do tawbah, and then now you have this huge storage of knowledge that you can practice on, and then you can become that first class, the people who have sought knowledge from the beginning for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what we want. Never lose hope. Always try to gain knowledge, even if you feel that I do not have the correct intention. You're sure about it. I don't have the correct intention. I was competing with someone, or I want this position. That's why I was learning. So I'm just gonna stop. Don't stop. Keep getting the knowledge, but work on that intention. Work on what we require. Think about that. I'm gonna die one day. I need to make tawbah and I need to turn into that first class of people. So the second group, they're literally in the middle. If they correct their intention, they will be with group number one. And if they remain in that state, then they will join group number three, which is a group we will talk about tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. And this is a group that we should seek Allah's protection from. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq to understand these basic steps. And these are the baby steps that we need to take in order to gain hidayah. And we are all children when it comes to gaining the hidayah. And the Anbiya alayhi salam, they are our guides. So we literally are dependent. In order to get to the hereafter, we need this knowledge and we need to practice on it. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our Ramadan, our beginning of fasting, give us tawfiq to start on a very strong foot and end on a strong foot, inshallah, and get that forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his pleasure in this beautiful month. Jazakumullahu khairan, inshallah, and we will continue this program tomorrow, at the same time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.